Hi guys, Victoria Paxton here. Thanks for stopping back by my YouTube channel. Alright, so today we are talking about Joan Rivers. So, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It's free. But listen, Joan Rivers paved the way so many different ways when it comes to women. And, you know, I was never a huge fan of hers. I didn't dislike her. I just didn't go out of my way to watch her or anything. But the last probably 3 or 4 years of her life, I just liked her. Anytime I saw her in anything, I would watch it, and I thought she was pretty cool. So yeah, I like to be transparent about how I feel about the people I'm reading, and that's how I feel about Joan Rivers. I didn't dislike her, but I just never thought of her. And then the last couple of years, something clicked, and I just liked her a lot. So, okay, get something to eat, get a drink, sit back. Here we go. Joan Alexandra Malinsky was born June 8th, 1933 in Brooklyn, New York. She had Russian-Jewish immigrant parents, Beatrice and Meyer. She had an older sister named Barbara Waxler. She spent her early life in Prospect Heights and Crown Heights in Brooklyn, where she attended the progressive and now defunct Brooklyn Ethical Cultural School and Adelphi Academy of Brooklyn, which was a college preparatory day school where she was the co-chairman of her school due to her past experiences in theatrical activities. That was a mouthful. Say that more than once. Within 2 years, she performed in the school cavalcades, and in 1949, at age 16, she was the vice president of the drama club. She graduated from the Adelphi Academy of Brooklyn in 1951 at the age of 18 years old. In her adolescence, her family relocated to Larchmont, which is north of New York City. Rivers stated in interviews that she was overweight throughout her childhood and that it had a profound impact on her body image, which she would struggle with throughout her entire life, which saddens me. I had the same issues, and it just makes me sad to hear, when people struggle with body images. Okay, she attended Connecticut College between 1950 and 1952. She ultimately graduated from Barnard College in 1955 with a BA in English Literature and Anthropology. I think my brother has the exact same BA. I can't remember what his master's. I think his master's was in political science or something. Anyway, so, all right. So she repeatedly said, and it was reported that she graduated summa cum laude and as a member of Phi Beta Kappa. However, her biographer found out these were fabrications, as were other statements such as that she appeared at the same time in a play with Barbra Streisand. You know what, you guys? Everyone in Hollywood, all the actors and actresses beef up their resumes, so that's no big deal. Before entering show business, Rivers worked several jobs, including as a tour guide at Rockefeller Center, a writer and proofreader at an advertising agency, and a fashion consultant at Bond clothing stores. I could totally see that. She was, even in the end with her show, she was awesome as far as fashion. During that time, agent Tony Rivers advised her that she needed to change her name, so Joan chose Joan Rivers as her stage name, which is ironic, seeing as how the guy that told her to change her name, his last name was Rivers. Okay, during the late 1950s, Rivers appeared in a short off-Broadway run play, Driftwood. She was co-starring with Barbra Streisand. It ran for 6 weeks. Rivers performed in numerous comedy clubs in the Greenwich Village area of New York City in the early 60s, including the Bitter End, the Gaslight Cafe, and the Duplex. Rivers became friends with her fellow Greenwich Village comedians Woody Allen and George Carlin. Big fan of George Carlin. Woody Allen, not so much. Between 1963 and 1964, Rivers, along with Jim Connell and Jake Holmes, was in the cabaret act Jim, Jake, and Joan. A 1964 appearance at the Bitter End resulted in their appearance in the motion picture Once Upon a Coffee House, which was also Rivers' first big screen credit. The group parted ways shortly afterwards, on which so Holmes later recalled, "We were supposed to do this rally for Bobby Kennedy. He was running for the New York Senate in 1964. We were going to play at the rally. Joan showed up with a Republican Senate nominee button that said Kenneth Keating. He was the Republican running on the ticket. Bobby Kennedy was the Democrat. Jim said, take that off. Joan said no. She was sticking to her political guns. Jim said, who needs you anyway? That was the end of Jim, Jake, and Joan. You know, you have to give her kudos for sticking with what she believes in. Nothing wrong with that. She also made a guest appearance on the TV show The Tonight Show, originating from New York, hosted at that time by Jack Parr. Okay, so by 1965, Rivers had a stint on Candid Camera as a gag writer and participant. She was the, quote, bait used to lure participants into ridiculous situations. And I have a feeling she was really funny at that and really good at that. After 7 auditions during a period of 3 years, she made her first appearance on The Tonight Show with the new host, Johnny Carson, on February 17th of 1965. Rivers credited this episode to be her break. That was like her breakthrough, as Carson said. Carson said to her on air, you're going to be a star. That was a big deal back in the days, guys. Johnny Carson was huge, and we didn't have social media and that kind of stuff, so that was huge. All right, so July of 1965, Rivers met and married Edgar Rosenberg. Okay, so fast forward to 1986, Joan was given her own late-night talk show, The Late Show starring Joan Rivers. So the show ended her longtime friendship with Johnny Carson because she never went to Johnny and said, look, they're giving me my own nighttime talk show. I'm going to be airing at the exact same time as your show every night, so we're going to hereby be, competition. She didn't bother to go and say anything to him. And so when he found out, he was pissed and he banned her and said she could never come back on The Tonight Show again, which kind of sucks because she'd been on there a lot, Okay. So Rivers was the first woman to host a late night talk show. See, she did a lot of firsts and a lot of breakthroughs for women. So that's really cool. But The Late Show with Joan Rivers, sorry guys, was flecked by tragedy. So when Rivers challenged Fox executive who wanted to fire Edgar Rosenberg, her husband, who was the show's producer, the network said, forget you, we're firing both of you. That was on May 15th of 1987. 3 months later, on August 14th of 1987, Rosenberg committed suicide in Philadelphia. Her husband. That's so sad. Rivers blamed the tragedy on his humiliation by Fox, and Rivers credited Nancy Reagan with helping her after her husband's suicide. Wow. Okay, so let's go back again. January 20th, 1968, Edgar and Joan had one child named Melissa. Melissa had a son named Cooper, born in 2000. All right, so Joan had tons of accomplishments and accolades, and it's like whenever she was down, she would bounce right back and reinvent herself. I mean, it was amazing. Like, she just didn't give up. Okay, so, oh goodness, you guys, sorry. So, August 28th, 2014, Rivers experienced serious complications and stopped breathing while undergoing what was scheduled to be a minor throat procedure at an outpatient clinic in Yorkville, Manhattan. She was resuscitated an hour later. Rivers was then transported to Mount Sinai Hospital in New York and later put on life support. She died September 4th, never having awoken from a medically induced coma. The New York City Medical Examiner's Office said she died from brain damage, which was caused by lack of oxygen. You think it took them an hour? Like, what in the HE double toothpicks what was this doctor doing? You don't put someone under for surgery and then not try to resuscitate them when things go south, After nearly 2 months of investigations, federal officials said on November 10th that the clinic made a number of mistakes, both before and during the procedure. Among those were the clinic's failure to respond to Rivers' deteriorating vital signs, including a severe drop in her blood pressure, possibly administering an incorrect anesthetic dosage. What? Performing a surgical procedure without her consent, and other medical clinic irregularities. Oh my God, that's... Okay. On September 7th, after the cremation of Rivers' body at Garden State Crematory in North Bergen, New Jersey, a private memorial service took place at Temple Emmanuel in Manhattan. The service was attended by 1,500 people. The guest list included a who's who. So, Howard Stern, Whoopi Goldberg, Barbara Walters, Diane Sawyer, Joy Behar, Michael Kors, Matthew Broderick, Sarah Jessica Parker, Rosie O'Donnell, Kathy Griffin, and Donald Trump. Wow. Howard Stern read the eulogy for Joan, which that's very fitting. I'm sure he did a heck of a job. January 26, 2015, Melissa Rivers filed a malpractice suit against the clinic and the doctors who performed the surgery on her mother. The suit was settled for an undisclosed amount in May of 2016, with the doctors accepting responsibility for Joan Rivers' death. The sad thing is, it didn't even financially affect the doctors, because I'm sure it was just their insurance company that paid out millions upon millions of dollars to Melissa Rivers. Like, so sad. Okay, so I was able to connect with Joan. She looked absolutely beautiful. She looked the way I remembered her looking in the 80s before she had all the fillers and Botox and all the plastic surgery. You know, it was, you know, more of her natural look. You know, she just looked really vibrant. The funny thing is that when she came through, you know, I expected her to come through with a bang and be, you know, all joking around. But she was kind of like, at the beginning, she was kind of like, kind of shy. It was kind of weird. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about her daughter, Melissa, and she rambled on about how Melissa, you know, all the years she tried to push Melissa to find a man. She talked about how hard-headed Melissa was. She talked about her grandson, Cooper. I guess he's turning 20 years old. Like, it's crazy. I learned that Cooper was originally named after Joan's husband, which is Cooper's grandfather, Edgar. So I guess Cooper's real name is Edgar. That's pretty cool. I chit-chatted with Joan for, you know, a while, and then I asked her if she would talk about, you know, kind of the end for her. And okay, so she said a few days before her procedure, she had what she called a nightmare. And in the nightmare, she was like on a gurney and she was fighting to breathe. She said she didn't share it with Melissa. She didn't share it with any of her friends. She didn't share it with anyone because, quite frankly, it just freaked her out and she just didn't want to think about it or deal with it. She said the morning of the procedure, she had a bad feeling. And she said for a split second, she thought about just canceling her appointment. She said she'd always had these kind of, quote, instincts, and unfortunately, she would generally ignore them for the most part, which I do the same thing. I think all women do the same thing. I think it's a female thing. We just think, oh no, everything will be fine. You know, because we want everything to be fine. You know what I mean? I think that's what it is. But she said she goes into her appointment, and then the next thing she knows, she's having the same dream that she's like fighting to breathe. She's having that nightmare again. But she said something felt different or off, and she said she's looking down and she saw her body and she realized what was going on at that point. Yeah. I mean, but you'd be surprised like how many cases I've heard where people have the premonition that they're going to die. Like they know they're going to die. You know, it's so weird how that happens. I wholeheartedly believe my dad knew, and I wholeheartedly believe my mom knew. And yeah, crazy. Okay, so she talked about missing Melissa and missing Coop. She said that she knows that Melissa can feel when she's around her, because she said, you know, she'll go around her and she'll linger around for a little while, and Melissa will always be like, Mom, like she can feel it, she knows, which that's pretty cool. She went on to talk about, so, you know, when she was married to Edgar, of course she loved the man, she had a child with him, but she said she realized, you know, after he had committed suicide, like she realized how controlling he had been with her, you know, which she didn't particularly care for. And, you know, her eyes were open to a lot of things after he died. But she says now that she has a good relationship with him, that, you know, she never realized, yeah, she said she never realized, like, how many things were an issue when they were married until after he had committed suicide, and then she kind of saw everything for what it was. I asked her if she was still a comedian where she is, if she was still able to tell jokes and such, and she said yes. Yeah, so she said, oh yeah, of course. She said, but you know what, when I was alive, it was hard for people to get away from me. So like if they came to the comedy show, it was hard for them to get away from me. She said, now all they do is poof and they're gone. She said, I thought that was funny. Like she tells them a joke and they don't like it. And they're like, I'm out of here. I thought that was pretty cool. So she still has that comical side of her. She's still funny as all get out. Yeah. She talks about her sister and her parents and having her great-grandparents there, and, you know, and her grandparents and all of her family. You know, she said she misses her friends terribly. And she made some little joke about, you know, she misses her friends terribly, but it won't be too long. They'll all be there with her. So she's funny. You know, she talks about, you know, there's a lot of things about her life that she misses. You know, she misses not being able to be present with Melissa and with Coop and with her friends. She said, but she wouldn't trade where she is for anything. That, you know, she's in a good place and she's happy and she doesn't have to deal with the BS. And she made a comment about, you know, how it sucks that we all have to deal with all the political BS that's going on, and she doesn't have to deal with it. Like, she kind of popped a joke about it, but I can't remember exactly what she said, or I would tell you, but it, you know, it was a little joke about, you're stuck listening to the political fights and I don't have to deal with it. So yeah. She's a really cool lady though. Like, you know, you never know with people, you know what I mean? If you're going to click with a, you know, and I just, you know, she just was herself. She was just real, you know, just comfortable and down to earth. She didn't put on airs or anything, you know what I mean? She was just really cool. So, okay, guys, be nice, be kind, stay cool, because I know like California and Arizona and Nevada is like 100 and some degrees every day now. It's been a nightmare. It's supposed to cool down to like the 70s here, 80s, the DC area. Stay safe. Get through all this crap. Be nice to other people. Reach out to somebody, one of your neighbors, and ask them how they're doing. You know, you just never know, especially like the elderly people today with what's going on, you know. I'm sure they would love to hear you ask them how they're doing and if they're okay, you know. So, okay, that about does it for me. Bye, guys.